Hello, Kyle. Hello, Sean. I appreciate the link to your series, to your pilot. So, first off, I was really struck by the title of your series, Yankee. It's normally a derogatory term that is used to describe entitled Americans.
Yes.
And so, what inspired the title and the true story that it's based on?
I'll do the title, and Sean, you talk about how to true story. But yeah, thank you, Hamza. It's super cool to be talking to you. And yes, we're acutely aware of being two Yankees that have lived and traveled in Argentina a lot. Sean is there now; he lives there, and it is the pejorative by which we are referred to. My host family would always call me. They say Shanky with like a they speak Castellano, so it sounds like that. So I feel like it's the one word that I came home from Argentina with is that I'm a shunky. And so it was kind of just a no-brainer that that would be the name of the show because it's a show about a lot of things about fatherhood and there's a romance, but ultimately it's this fish out of water, a very specific fish out of water who's a shanky who comes to Argentina. So we really wanted to embrace it, own it, lean into it, and yeah. And then the true story.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just to touch on that too, it's like when I first came down here, they don't really use the gringo word. Instead, they use Shanky. So that always kind of stood out to me. But in terms of the true story, yeah, it's pretty much like the premise. I was on, vacation in Barcelona, met an Argentine. We had a weekend fling, let's say, and then 2 weeks later, I got the call. Actually, the true story, I was in Sicily at that time, looking for my great grandfather's birth certificate to do Italian citizenship, and I was in the town where they filmed the Godfather, and I got the call, and I was like, that can't be, because I had tried to donate sperm back in college a couple times because my roommates were making a lot of money doing it. And I was rejected. So that's kind of the premise and why how we got started.
Low and slow. This,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
All right, thank you for that backstory. Although it is based on what really happened to you, I noticed that before the drama started, Josh was watching one of my favorite movies, Before Sunrise, and there are actually so many parallels between Jesse and Josh because at first they seem super aimless and immature, but actually they're very far from it. So I wanted you to know, like, even though it is based on your true story, how much of Josh's character was influenced by Jesse in that movie.
yeah. I mean, I we love those movies, and I think
Yeah.
that was like one like going into that moment in the movie, like we wanted to open up with, okay, he ends up, you know, I don't know, how do you say that?
Well,
Kind of whacking up
he's a hopeless
Yeah.
romantic. He's a hopeless romantic, and for this guy in his little crappy apartment in New York to be watching a before film, and we chose that scene very specifically. I feel like it does tell you a lot about Josh, or at least it gives you a first impression of him. And then, of course, we dash it with the fact that he's reminds him of Sophia, which then spurs some more R-rated activities to happen. So, but that's really cool, Hamza, that you love that film. We do too.
Yeah.
All right, nice. And one of the conversations that really struck me was when Sophia's dad was just randomly telling him about his own, I guess, gringo experience. And he said something along the lines of, my life was over in the best way possible, which was so depressing. And it seems like he lived like vicariously through his daughter. So if you guys could just discuss how these traditional beliefs about family play out in Sophia's parents, in their characters.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I think, we wanted to try to play like against like what's traditionally presented, like the overprotective father. So we wanted to try to inverse, those roles and make it really the mother that is kind of anti-Josh at the start. and give Rafa the father a completely different take, right? That he's like welcoming and hopefully surprise viewers with that dynamic.
There's
And
also
then
this
yep.
oh no, gosh. Well, I was just gonna say there's also this truism, like Sean said, to flip the mother-father traditional roles in terms of their perspective on a newcomer that's gonna date their daughter or son, whatever. But also in Argentina, it just seems like there are some Argentines that love America, love the US, love the culture, love the films, love all the stuff. Others very the opposite, like the mother, like the sister, so we really wanted to have both of those types of Argentinians represented so that we really want this to be faithful to, we want Argentinians to see this and enjoy it as much as Americans.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very well balanced because, Josh has kind of the headache of he has to contend with class on one hand, and then he has to contend with this culture that's so different from American culture. One of my favorite lines was, "Only a fool doesn't realize where he doesn't belong. Like, what are you doing here, even?" And so, how are you able to like bridge the gap? Because they're basically in their own ways rebelling about what came before them.
Hmm.
So even though they seem super different, they're very similar in so many ways. So how are you able to sort of bridge the gap between these two characters despite their material differences
Hmm.
and their class differences?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
just,
think that's oh
yeah,
yeah.
you go, I'll go second. Yeah.
Hamza, yeah, I love that your take on that, and I think that was something that we really explored in the beginning of the writing is like what brings these two together and how are they like despite all of these like overt differences that are pretty striking. But I think yeah, it is a story of how both of them are trying to overcome Josh in his case, and this was based on my I didn't have a good relationship with my t two father figures and becoming a father suddenly or the idea that you might be one forces you to kind of confront that past in a way that maybe was completely unexpected for me and for Josh in this way too. And I think Sophia is going through that as well, because she's forced to kind of suddenly envision her life as a mother, and that connects her to her parents. Like, will she be like them or go a different way? And I think they're both connected in that, and that one of the big things that draws them together.
I would add that they're like, yeah, they really do feel like this a very similar person, just in different skin and different and from different geographies. Like they're both fighting against their legacy. Josh's legacy is, two absent fathers. His biological father and his stepfather did not show up for him in any good kind of way. And then for Sophia, there's this, from her mother and her parents, there's this expectation about how she's supposed to operate as a young woman and then eventually becoming a mother. And we just thought it was really interesting, but also based on truth that they're both doing it out of spite in a way. At least that's on the surface. That's kind of what they're telling themselves. But I think just like how life is messy and complicated, I think there's something deeper there as well. And I think, we did this in lockstep with the real Sophia, with the mother of Sean's child, and this story really does have a happy ending. Like there's a baby, and it's so adorable. But I think the other thing that was really cool is this, it allowed us, Sean in particular, to consider the perspective of the mother of his child, because when you're in it, it's your first kid, and oh my God, it's another country. Of course, you're just wrapped up in your own stuff. But in retelling the story, we had to completely imagine and try to empathize with Sophia, and so it was just super educational to present both perspectives.
Yeah, I think you guys, just to touch on what you both have said, because Sean is, sorry, not Sean, Josh is very transparent about his background and where he comes from. He's not hiding anything. He says his mom is a maid. Like, he's not really, and I think family is so important, but it's also the one thing we have absolutely no control over, at least initially, right? Like, as adults, we can kind of decide who we want our families to be. So I wanted to know for the two of you, like, what does family mean to you?
Man, these questions
Cool.
are amazing.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, like what you just said, it becomes the people that you choose to surround yourself with and the people you don't choose, and then they bump into you, and this kind of magic happens, and but you choose to stay connected with them. Living abroad, I've been living in Argentina for 5 years, and so family is really different for me because I have important people all over the world now, that I stay connected with, and my blood family back home, but also the new people that I'm so close with in Argentina. I choose to be with. Yeah.
Me, I mean, I love how you said that also, Hamza. Like a feature film that I'm writing right now is all about chosen family, about friendship, and about how, yeah, that does 100% become your family. But I don't know, man. There's something interesting about your given family also, and I think we live in this world now where we've got too many options for dating, for food, for whatever, and your family is baked in, right? And it's like this foundational thing that compared to all the other stuff in the world that's fickle, your family is there for better or worse, And I think there's just something to that I think that is really special, and that I think both Josh and Sophia are trying to achieve, and even Sophia's family that drives her crazy. She really seems like the black sheep of that family in a way, but she still clearly loves them, and cares about their happiness, and that getting them on board with her decisions, even if they might not agree with it. So I don't know. I look up to Sophia a lot in that way.
Okay, thank you both for your answers. And the pilot episode ends, and you don't know whether he's happy or sad or depressed or what. Like his reaction was all over the place. And so I wanted to ask, like, what do you hope people will take from the end of the pilot episode, and what can they expect from the series overall?
Before we answer, Hamza, can you tell us, because this is the first time we're sharing this with the world, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think the results are? And I don't know, where do you think it's going?
To be honest, I think it touches on family and this idea of because it's a balance, like what you said about Sophia. She makes her own decisions, despite the fact that her family's clearly against it. And normally those types of things can break people apart. So my first impression of the pilot episode, like I was quite surprised by how attached I got to Sean and how attached I got to Sophia, and I bought into their connection. So I'm expecting kind of this balance, as you said, like what is family
Hmm.
and how do you balance chosen family versus the family that you have to work with for better or
Hmm.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
You
that.
reverse
I love
Uno'd me on that.
Yeah.
I love
Reverse.
that.
Well, we did end it with a cliffhanger because it's TV, and TV every episode needs to have a cliffhanger, and we want folks to come back. But yes, those results. Yes, Josh is very. I think he's got good reason to be surprised if it is his, and he's got good reason to be surprised and let down if it's not. So I think we very carefully did that. And we have big plans. We have all of season one. Before we even wrote the pilot, I think we have a whole Bible for episodes 1 through 8. And it's Josh and Sophia on their two respective journeys. All the while, this pregnancy is happening. And we're so excited to pitch that at Tribeca, to find a partner that wants to make it with us, and yeah, just have it be a really modern show. It's like a global show, you know what I mean? It's like international. It's about young people making families, and we're so stoked to hopefully we get the opportunity to keep going.
Okay. Amazing. And where can people find you if they want to support or keep track of this project?
We have a
Oh,
website.
website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead,
Oh,
Sean.
Jinx,
Oh,
Jinx. It's Yanqui.tv, right? Or
Okay.
Yankee.tv. And you can
Okay.
see the trailer there. You can see some ideas that we have for the first season.
also
And
also Instagram. Instagram, we are Yankee.TV series, which, we can throw in the chat or something like that. But yeah, Instagram and then the website is where you can follow us, and hopefully we'll get into more soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the festival.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Hamza.
much. Great questions.